What is going on, all you people that like to learn stuff about Minecraft? Welcome to the second episode of Learn It from a Hermit, the series where we spin a random wheel and get the name of a random hermit on the hermitcraft server, obviously, and we see what that hermit can teach us about Minecraft that we don't already know. I'm gonna get into spinning the wheel right after this, but real quick, I just wanna say thank you so much for all the feedback on the first episode where I talked about Impulse. That video has, as of right now, 5x my sub count, which is crazy. You guys had nothing but positive feedback, and speaking of that first episode, it was brought to my attention that a couple small details in that video were a little off, so for this episode and all future episodes, I will watch every episode, or at least most of the episodes, of whatever hermit I am reviewing, just to make sure that little details like that don't slip my mind and everyone gets credit for what they've built or contributed. So with that being said, let's get into spinning the wheel. Why is Etho's name so big? I just noticed that. Watch us get Etho now. Here we go. We got Xisuma. Okay. Xisuma. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'm not going to lie. I think everybody says his name differently. Xisuma. I think he says it like Xisuma or Xisuma. Well, I guess that's the first thing we're going to learn. How do you pronounce his name for sure? Because I saw a clip of when Grian first joined the hermitcraft server. He was like Xizuma. It was like all awkward. I'll just put the clip in the video right here.
Fancy seeing you
Yeah,
here.
fancy seeing you here, neighbor. So this is XisumaVoid. He does a lot of technical Minecraft stuff and hermitcraft stuff.
How did you say my name?
Zuma?
You said, I could have swore you said Xizuma. Never mind.
No. Today, XisumaVoid. This thing is great because I've actually got X here. XisumaVoid.
Now, I haven't been watching Xisuma for very long, but I love his content and I love how determined he is about his passions. And I can't do a video about Xisuma without talking about mods and data packs and stuff like that. Xisuma is the reason I know how to download and manage mods in Minecraft. And when I recently got my first PC, I knew I wanted to do content creation, and I love Minecraft, so I wanted to learn how the hermits have all these fancy tools like free cam and time lapse, proximity chat, custom armor stands, and all these other mods that still keep the vanilla experience but make it a little bit better for content creators. If you haven't seen Xisuma's video about the mods they use in hermitcraft, I highly recommend you check his video out. I'll leave it in the description. Now, as I said earlier, I watched all of Xisuma's season 10 videos, which was a task, by the way. He's got a lot of episodes, so I just sat there recording my own Minecraft videos while listening to hermitcraft episodes on double speed.
Myself. Beautiful.
You good? Yeah, I think I am. I think you're alive.
And here are some little things that I learned that I thought were very interesting and definitely something I want to use in the future. So in one of the first episodes, a group of hermits, including Xisuma, are mining together, and at one point, Xisuma came across some iron that happened to be next to some tuff, and he acted pretty surprised or excited about it.
Oh, iron next to tough?
So this made me question why he felt the need to mention that. There was iron next to tuff, like big deal. So I looked it up, and it turns out iron does actually have a higher chance of spawning in or around veins of tuff below Y level 0. So that's an interesting little detail that I had never heard of. Continuing on my lesson from Xisuma, I learned another pro tip that involves fuel for a furnace. A lot of people use kelp or bamboo, which is great. I've seen a few of the hermits use straight up bamboo. It's easy to farm in large quantities, but now that we have the auto crafter in Minecraft, we have the ability to turn an easy bamboo farm into an even more efficient farm with a few minor upgrades. I'll let Xisuma do the talking for this one.
So here's the tip. Turn this stuff into bamboo blocks. Of course, in the past, we didn't have this, but as a fuel source, it'll now do a full stack. So I can chuck my cobble into there and reliably smelt through all of it. Let's compare that to a stack of bamboo. You'll see that the number of this stuff just goes down so quick, that's not going to do the whole stack.
And in the next video or two, we find out that turning the bamboo blocks into planks is actually more efficient.
I have an extended tip from our last one with the furnaces using bamboo. Many of you commented that I should turn the bamboo blocks into bamboo planks, and this will make the fuel even more efficient.
And the reason that it's more efficient is because it takes 4 bamboo to smelt 1 item, but 1 bamboo block can smelt 1.5 items. And what's pretty interesting is that a bamboo plank also smelts 1.5 items. So if you craft the bamboo block into bamboo planks, you will get 2 bamboo planks from that block. So you'll essentially get twice the amount of items smelted if you use the bamboo planks. Pretty interesting and helpful. Now, technically, other types of wood would be more efficient because their logs can be crafted into to 4 planks instead of 2, but bamboo is used because it's easier to farm than just regular wood. On to the next thing I learned from Xisuma. In some of its earlier season 10 episodes, he started a little honey farm. And this is just an interesting little thing that I thought I'd add because I'd recently made a little honey farm in my Minecraft Realm series, and this would have been nice to know. So he taught me that if you put a fence gate in front of a beehive, it actually prevents the bees from coming out of the hive when it's closed, as long as the other sides of the beehive are blocked. And then he immediately improved on this design by simply turning the fence gate sideways. That way the hitbox of the fence gate is out of the way and you can still manually reach the beehives so you can shear it for honeycomb or use bottles to get honey. And while we're on the topic of bees, he actually accidentally found this mechanic with bees and glowberries.
Is this on purpose, having the bee up there?
No, I understand now. So they're like, oh my god, they get trapped up there, Ren.
Can't you? Don't they stop growing if you snip them with shears?
Oh, you might be right, yeah. Oh, it literally just regrew after I sheared it. Oh, do you know what? It might be the bees that actually pollinate it. That might be why they're growing. Huh.
It's growing so fast. It just came back again right away.
Yeah. Oh my god. What if that's a way to make like a glowberry farm?
Dude, you just invented a glowberry farm using bee juice.
You might be right. But look at that. Look how quickly that regrows. That has got to be confirmation that the bees are causing the glowberries to regrow. And so after 5 minutes, wow, just loads of glowberries. That is an awesome little farm to accidentally discover.
Now, I don't know exactly how helpful this will be, but these are just a few small things that are nice to know for when you want to build farms in the early game. And I don't know about you, but when I'm in the early days in a new Minecraft world, I can't get upgraded and get more efficient tools fast enough. My main priority is getting efficient farms and tools. That way I can get resources faster so I can get into those cool builds even sooner. That's just the way I like to play. So with that being said, these little tips and tricks are a huge help because they make early farms just a little more efficient. Now, speaking of efficiency, this one kind of blew my mind and made me angry at the same time. I'm just going to show you the clip.
Let me tell you this, aging the blocks with one already aged underneath makes a huge difference to the speed at which they age at. And that has enabled me to just put a ton of these blocks underneath our aging platform.
So I was watching this episode while playing Minecraft and I stopped what I was doing and I was like, are you kidding me? I can't believe I didn't know about this sooner. If you're not aware, Xisuma has the copper permit in season 10, so he has a copper shop to keep stocked. And it's a common thing for the hermits to want oxidized copper, and the oxidizing process is the worst part of gathering copper. So this is such a huge help and a great thing to learn. I love the copper block and how customizable it is with its 4 stages of oxidation and its several decorative blocks you can make out of it. It's just a great block. So finding out that you can greatly decrease the amount of time it takes to age your copper is just mind-blowing. Let's switch the pace up a little bit and talk about Xizuma's time on the Imp and Skiz podcast. If you're not aware, Impulse and Skiz have a podcast, highly recommend by the way, and they have several hermits on the show as guests and they talk about themselves on a more personal level, so I learned that I actually have a lot in common with Xisuma. He's very into music, he actually makes his own music, and fun fact, most of the background music and time-lapse music in his videos are songs that he actually made himself. But Xisuma likes hard rock and like heavy metal, as do I actually have a reaction channel dedicated to this kind of music, link in the description. Anyways, in his time on the podcast, he talks about being a creative person, and I love hearing his perspective on the topic. So check this clip out of Xisuma on the Imp and Skiz podcast.
No Minecraft, no YouTube. Well, who are you? What are you doing with your life? Because it's very clear that you've got a lot to offer the world. And who are you if you're not doing what you're doing now?
So I'm not driven by the status that this brings. I'm driven by the experience. And that experience is often expressing creativity. So I feel like it's hard for me to picture doing something different. Yeah, there was some other point here I was about to land on, and then I distracted myself with the music thing. But I think I was trying to say that I'm just creative. Like, there's always going to be something that I want to get out of myself. And so that's probably who I am. You know, just someone with this brain that's like overactive and it just needs to be just needs to be put out there somehow.
I have never related to someone more when it comes to having an overactive mind that's constantly going random places and just want to express as much creativity as possible. That is where the idea of making this series came from. I have so much respect for people who take advantage of this trait and use their creativity to do awesome things, and Xisuma does so many of these things. He has his own website, he does guitar covers, he has several YouTube channels, he makes music, he makes hermitcraft videos, he makes snapshot videos, he has a Patreon server, he does live streams, he does blogs, he's a big part of a thing called Vanilla Tweaks, which if you don't know is a website where you can find a bunch of data packs and resource packs to enhance the vanilla experience in Minecraft. And on top of all this, he is considered the leader of the Hermitcraft server, although I know he doesn't like to call it that, but he manages the kind of like business / tech side of the Hermitcraft server, which is a hefty task alone, I'm sure. Now there's a whole lot more depth to all the things that I just listed, so my apologies if some information was left out, but I could make a whole series about Xizuma's roles and responsibilities alone, and that's not what this video is about. Xisuma is a perfect example of someone who is insanely dedicated to expressing creativity, and that is just seriously so respectable. And Xisuma, if you're watching this somehow, I love the content, I love the work ethic, I love how passionate you are about all the things that you do, and I'd love to talk with you about more of these interests someday. I know that sounds kind of crazy coming from a guy with just over 300 subscribers, but a guy can dream, all right? And the more you guys interact with this video, the higher the likelihood that this series actually reaches the hermits personally. So go ahead and do all those YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and let's see if we can make that happen. Back onto the Minecraft side of this video, here's another thing Xisuma taught me that I can't wait to use in many of my future builds. So a honey block is actually just barely smaller than a full-sized block, and because of this, you can actually interact with certain things on the other side of the honey. And what Xisuma does is make a really cool elevator with it by putting a bubble elevator in the corner of some honey blocks.
We've got a drop chute to get down with the water at the bottom to break our fall. Then behind the honey here, we have soul sand elevator with water going up. We're not actually going to go into that water stream. We can access it through the corner of these honey blocks because they have a slightly reduced hitbox. And that sends us all the way up. Now, that might seem like a great elevator to get up here, but of course we've got multiple floors. So this is where the use of a trapdoor will come into play. If we're elevated up to this thing, it stops us from going any further. Also allows us to just drift out onto the floor of our choice. So yeah, there's our elevator design, right? You come up to here, you get out, or you right click on the note block and go up to the next level. We've done it.
That elevator is so cool, and I can't wait to build that in the future. And while we're on the topic of honey, just a quick little clip in here, I noticed he puts a beacon in a honey block and the beacon still shines through it. I did not know that was possible, so that's kind of interesting. So in this next clip, Xisuma is making a little gold farm, and he needs wither roses for it. And if you didn't know, to get wither roses, you have to let the wither kill other mobs in the game. So here he uses snow golems, and there was a couple things I learned here. I knew you could kill the wither like this by putting it under the end portal, which I definitely want to try in the future. I've never done it before. The other thing was I never really thought of using snow golems to do this. I've always seen people use like random other mobs, but snow golems is a pretty easy way to do this. The other thing is I didn't know you could place jack-o'-lanterns with a dispenser. I wonder what else you could use that for. Now the next thing I do want to learn, I want to know how to properly set up the crafter. Bear with me here. This is going to be confusing for a second. When I use the crafter, the only way I'm aware of how to use it is to just make a line of redstone that adds up to 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then just put a repeater going into the side of the crafter. So that way it only activates when I get a signal strength of 9, and then it will craft a full block. So I really want to learn how he uses the crafter without doing all this mess and taking up so much space, because I know this isn't the right way to do it. It's just the only way I know how. And the way that I'm going to try to learn about the crafter from Xisuma is from his video about automated crafting. So one thing that I've already learned just by looking at the video, I haven't even really started watching it yet. A crafter, if it's facing right into a storage unit or storage block and it crafts an item, it goes straight into that storage block. I kind of assumed it would just dispense it. So I thought that was really cool, and that has got to be extremely useful. Okay, so he has a little tutorial on how to make this contraption. Now I'm gonna try to explain this as best I can. I am so sorry if this is incorrect at all. I'm really gonna try to dumb it down here. So as far as I understand it, this is literally just a little redstone like clock or a timer or whatever. So right now this is locked. When I turn this off, it basically unlocks this redstone from being constantly on, and it also unlocks this repeater. So the repeater can turn off, which then unlocks this block, which then lets this redstone torch turn on. This redstone torch, when it's on, is powering this block, and this repeater is taking the signal strength from that block, and then it's powering this block, and then that block is powering this redstone. So it's just a little circle like that of just redstone signal, and when I unflip this lever, it unlocks it and lets it just go in that circle that I just described. And also there is a redstone up here that is powered when this redstone torch turns on, and that goes into this target block. Target block is just here to direct this redstone into itself. So if it's just a regular block, this redstone isn't actually powering this block. As you can see, if I put a target block, that redstone directs into it, which means that this block is now powered, which means that this repeater can take a signal from this block. That is the answer to how the crafter gets its signal to craft. Have I lost your interest yet? Don't worry, the redstone talk's almost over. Let me know if you learned anything from it though. So this is the finished machine in Xisuma's video. So the one that I have made here is only got one ingredient. So it's all just redstone, just to craft redstone blocks. And that means that you don't necessarily need any of this at all. You technically only need one hopper just loading it. The only reason you would need 3 is just to load it faster. And that means you wouldn't really even need this. You wouldn't need any of this. So this is really all you would need if you're only doing one ingredient. So if I wanted to just have a redstone block crafter, for example, or if I wanted something that the recipe was just 9 of one ingredient, I could just make this module right here and then use this that I showed you earlier to power it. And I am super proud to present this design that I came up with just from learning how to do that. So this is literally the same module. I just copied it over here. So I literally have the same design here. So this chest is the same as this chest, and then that hopper goes into the crafter. The only difference is the crafter is facing upwards into this chest. So I have it designed that all I have to do is take my input ingredient and load it into this chest, and then this will be my output chest. And as you can see, there's nothing in it. That's because the clock is locked right now. So if I turn this off, and it allows this redstone signal to be circled around, and then it automatically crafts it right up into this output chest. I am learning redstone and I love it. I'm definitely using this module in my survival series. So sorry if I lost you on that long redstone tutorial that I told myself I wasn't gonna do. But on one hand, I'm trying to show you what I'm learning, and on the other hand, I'm also trying to teach you in case you don't know the same things that I don't know. That's kind of the whole idea behind this video. So if that was a little boring, sorry about that. Another quick little thing I learned from Xisuma, and I'm just gonna see if I can demonstrate it right here. So what he did is he was getting some spruce wood and he planted a tree, and he used an ender pearl to quickly throw it up in the air and then grow the tree. Oh, okay. Well, it didn't work exactly like his did it. But anyways, he got to the top of the tree by throwing the ender pearl, because these trees are so tall, they can be kind of annoying to get to the top of. What I usually do is just make like a staircase out of the tree like this as I mine it up. And then once you get to the top, you can just find a place where you can basically just break them in a circle and fall down. That way you don't need an ender pearl, but the ender pearl is kind of just for a flex, honestly. Let's see if I can do that the way he did it. So he threw the ender pearl, let it get up there a little bit, and then grow the tree. There we go. Now we're on top of the tree. That is how he did it. Now, at this point in the video, I already know the rest of the things that I'm going to put in the video that I've learned from Xisuma, but the problem is there is so much I still could put in the video. I could make this video 3 hours long, especially when it comes to Xuma's abilities with Redstone. There is so much I've learned about Redstone alone just in the process of making this video. But I know Redstone's not everybody's thing and it's kind of hard to keep everybody's interest. So I just want to put that out there, but I'm just throwing in the coolest things that I find as I watch his content, and there is no shortage of knowledge on his channel. With that being said, go subscribe to Xisuma and get you some of that knowledge directly from the source. Now let's learn about some sea pickles. Well, I don't mean actually learn about like pickles, but in this clip, Xisuma makes a pickle farm and he has a few issues with it, and I think it's just so cool how he solves the issues in his own way, and there is actually a few cool things I learned from this.
Even though it's a split second the water is gone, that the coral will turn dead. Now this is okay because down below we can have a collection system using rails, and rails can be waterlogged and the minecart can still go back and forth. So now this is going to work just fine for harvesting the sea pickles.
So first of all, I didn't know rails could be put underwater without breaking. And two, I didn't know minecarts could travel on the rails while they're submerged in water. That just doesn't seem like something that would work. And for this next clip, a little context. He's trying to hook up a redstone clock to his pickle farm.
And this is the teaching moment, because if we hook it up directly, then it's just way too fast. So what we want from this thing is like every other signal, right? If we go ahead and put a bulb on it, it gets powered and unpowered, and then we can feed that into another bulb. And now this one is half the speed of that one. And we can go ahead and do the same thing yet again, and then it's half of the one before it.
So that was super cool. I didn't know you could use the copper bulbs like that. I'm sure there's some interesting things you can do with that function of the copper bulb. And the very next thing that I learned was actually right after that clip that I just showed you. So check this out.
So this next step I learned is a misstep, because you're going to make the contraption too fast if you add an on-off switch like this. It's perfect because both clocks are hooked up together, but when you pull this back, this now runs even faster than it did before. And that may look like it's working, or it could be tweaked by adding another copper bulb, but here's the thing, we start to produce more sea pickles than the speed of a hopper.
Imagine designing something so good that it's too efficient. Couldn't be me. Imagine what you could make with a signal that goes that fast. Hook it up to a dispenser and shoot arrows or flames or something like that. I don't know. There's a lot of potential with that. Now, this last clip I want to show you is probably the coolest thing that I've seen from Xisuma, and that's why I've saved it for last. There are so many ideas that come to my mind when I see that this is actually a thing that can be done in the game. And just for a little context, in this clip, he's actually making a zombie farm that he can use for getting copper. So if you didn't know, when you hit a zombie, it actually has a chance to spawn reinforcements, meaning other zombies in the general area that automatically lock on to you. So if you hit a zombie or you kill a zombie and you wonder why there's 1,000 other zombies just randomly coming out of nowhere, then that would be why. Now for the moment I've all been waiting for. Check this clip out.
Now let's go for the live demonstration. As I turn on one, you can see it takes a little bit of time for those comparators to turn on. And so as I turn on the others, there is a bit of a delay here with the signal strength going out, but it's doing exactly what we want it to. So as I lower the input here, you can see that it jumps down. The next thing I want to do is show you the light levels. I've got a overlay here to show the zeros disappearing. Those are the spaces where zombies will be able to spawn. Aha, so now we can manipulate how many spawns we get using this. And here's what it looks like now that it's really getting going. The amount of reinforcements coming in is just absurd. So now I can just drop down below, go in here and activate more of the lights. And that is going to help throttle the farm, as there are far less spaces for reinforcements to arrive. So the more players that are online, the more of these lamps I'm going to turn up.
When I saw that, that absolutely blew my mind, because I instantly started coming up with thoughts about making like an evil layer, and then this is my control panel to turn on certain contraptions. So I have literally spent hours just trying to come up with some sort of way to control different machines at a time with this mechanic. So if I select one, then only one turns on, or if I select a bunch, then however many I select will turn on. I just want to let you know I'm trying to cut back on the redstone talk for this video. I know it's a lot. I know it's not everybody's thing, but I was just editing and I literally talked for like half an hour about every one of these designs. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I think I started another one, but then I tore it down. But I talked in detail about all of them, and I'm just gonna cut it all out. I'm not gonna make you sit through that. So I'll spare you and just talk about the last one that I designed really quick. So same indicator, the farm is off. So then say I want 4, then I would just hit my note block to turn the farm on, and then that would turn the 4th one on. And then you could just run your individual redstone lines to whatever farm you want. And now the problem with this is that if I want multiple on at the same time, let's say I want 4 and 5 on, when I interact with 5, it turns 4 off and turns 5 on. So there's a lot of work I gotta do. I pretty much came up with most of this other than this bit right here all on my own, and I was super proud of that, and that just showed me how much I'm truly learning from these videos. And I'm really hoping that you guys are enjoying and learning the same thing, because these videos are a lot of fun to make. I love learning from these guys, and it's slowly making me a better Minecraft player in every realm of the game, whether it be redstone or building. I want to be good at all of it. And I am going to end this episode of Learn It From a Hermit right here. I cannot thank you enough for how good the interaction with these videos so far has been. And I know I've only done 2 episodes, but that's not the point. I have learned so much just from making this video alone. So I want to say a huge thank you to Xisuma. Hopefully you're watching this, by the way. I think that would be so cool. I absolutely love expressing creativity just like Xisuma does, as we learned in this episode, and I love seeing that other people do enjoy it as well. So let me know what you learned in the comments. Let me know what you think of the series. Go subscribe to Xisuma if you haven't already. Check out all the links in the description. There's gonna be a lot of them. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.